Hello and welcome to the August 2026 episode of the Onstage Colorado Podcast. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca. And this month on the show, we are looking ahead to the fall theater season. And boy, there is a lot going on.
There is indeed. Yeah, like right now we're kind of in a little bit of a lull between the summer season kind of winding down and the fall shows gearing up to start. So we wanted to dive into that and look ahead, like maybe September, October, November, sort of not including the holiday shows. So that's what we're going to look at.
Yeah, I dipped a little bit into December as long as the show did not include any holiday gesturings.
Not that we have anything against holiday shows, but they're kind of like, given. They're a given.
Also, that's fodder for another podcast, Alex. We want to give away all of our best material.
Yeah. So, and then later in this episode, we're going to have an interview that Toni did with Chris Collins-Pisano, one of the lead actors in the touring production of Spamalot, which is now at the Denver Center Buell Theater. So it's up through August 23rd. So it's got another week or so. Chris is a busy guy because he plays 4 significant parts in the play. So I'm curious to hear that conversation you had with him.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the mechanics of comedy and how he and the company kind of keep it fresh and in their bones. I also ask about his kind of relationship with Monty Python in general, kind of inspirations. And we talk a little bit about his time in Denver before, because he was here with Forbidden Broadway twice. Mm-hmm. So folks in Denver may be familiar with Chris. I know I was. This was my 3rd time seeing him on stage.
Yeah, he definitely looked familiar. So yeah, you and I were there on opening night, August 11th, and it was an awful lot of fun. It's a real musical theater extravaganza. It is the kind of show where anything goes. You can uncork any tropes, cliches, whiz-bang stuff, dance numbers. It's very silly. And we had a lot of fun at it. And then you got a bit of a tour backstage after the opening night. I was jelly. What was that all about?
Yeah, so my roommate, who I brought with me to the opening night of Spamalot, actually knew one of the stage managers, Tara Toller-Payne. And so we went to the stage door at the back of the Buell, and we waited out there for her to come let us in and take us up the elevator to go to the stage and do a little bit of a backstage tour and learn a little bit about the load-in process. They got there that morning at 6 a.m. and started unloading all of their trucks that day, and then did not get a single full rehearsal, did not run the show in its entirety until you and I saw it at the Buell that evening at 7:30.
And it was tight, I mean...
It was slick. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm amazed that they didn't have even a tech rehearsal or, scene to scene.
Let me throw in another thing that might just boggle the mind a little bit is they hire, when they come into town, every single town they go in, about half of the positions backstage they're there every single time. They're with the tour. They go on with them, whatnot. Half of them are locals. And so they just get a list of things to do. Like they're pulling the ropes on all the different scenic elements, or they're doing props or moving set pieces and things. And those folks, they're doing it all for the very first time that night when we were seeing it. And like you just said, it was very seamless. There were no errors. It really, seeing that kind of process backstage and walking through what it's like to come into a city and have everything in these massive boxes, unload the boxes that day, and then have to go out that evening. They ran through a couple of moments, like they pulled some of the scene pieces so they could get a sense of timing, and ran through a couple of transitions, but they don't get to run through the whole show. You certainly don't get to do it a bunch of different times to get it in your bones. It really does. It gave me a new level of appreciation to what goes into bringing a touring production to life.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it's, I've done the tours of some of the theaters there at the Denver Center, but never when there was a live show on there. So that was a really cool experience.
It certainly was. And it was very funny to see the folks who I had just seen singing their hearts out and doing these insane bits in these period costumes, then backstage in like modern garb, headphones on, listening to music, right. Just kind of going about their day, trying to get out of the theater because they've been going all day.
Mm-hmm. That's great. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we've seen lately. Of course, Spamalot being a big one that was in town. You and I also made the trek down to Colorado Springs over the weekend and saw Eureka Day. So this is a comedy about a like a private grammar school in Berkeley, California that we'd also both seen at Curious Theater a year or two. Was it? I think it was 2025, right?
Yeah, it was almost exactly a year ago since their kind of this same time slot for them. Christy Montour Larson directed that production, and it was a much larger production. The Acoma street
Yes.
space where they were performing in really allowed the scenic designers to go big with it and make you see every aspect of this library setting in which a lot of the meetings that the folks are doing happen. Springs Ensemble Theater, which performs in the 59er Speakeasy, which is in the back of this kind of game store in Old Colorado City. It's the downtown spot. You kind of, on the night you and I went, we had to walk through a whole bunch of people playing a lot of tabletop games. It was really bustling in there.
Yeah, yeah, it was hopping. And yeah, this is a fantastic little space. I mean, it's like, you're sitting at tables. You can get, like there's some light, food items you can get. You can get a beer and sit there, and it's just a really comfy spot.
Yeah, and the playing space itself is really tight and just slightly elevated in the space, which for this particular play really makes you feel as though you are sitting in this council room. You complete the rest of the library in a
Absolutely.
real sense. And I think that the director here, Jody Paproth, does a really excellent job with the pacing and kind of how she builds tension throughout, and particularly with the casting. It's really a 5-person show, and all 5 of the actors here were really excellent. I thought Ali Burroughs' performance just particularly popped. It plays Susanna, who is kind of this parent who is mistrusting of the vaccines mandates that are being discussed in the show, and she really makes a meal of that role.
She really does. And like, we don't normally comment on actors' looks when we do reviews, but in her case, I mean, she just has this really open, honest face, and she had these big glasses, and so she really looked the part of this earnest parent who was also this like kind of a huge pain in the ass, but she also had a really legitimate story. So she wasn't just typecast as the villain, the anti-vaxxer person. And so she was fantastic, but really, yeah, like you said, the whole cast was really, really strong. And it was just it was like theater at its most basic. Like you're right there. The actors are just a few feet from you and doing a great job with it.
Yeah, just a few moments along the way that kind of pulled you out of that. There were a couple of long transitions, particularly one really lengthy one involving some
Yeah,
books right near the end. But I think those only really stuck out to me because the rest of the play was so strong and so tight. I maybe wouldn't have noticed that if the rest wasn't just so excellent.
yeah, yeah. So definitely recommend getting down to that if you can. It's running through August
Absolutely.
30th at that 59er Speakeasy there in Colorado Springs. And then the other show that I saw recently was Taco Town, which is a world premiere at the Miners Alley Performing Arts Center in Golden. This is another play by Luc Sorge, whose National Bohemians last year was a pretty good hit and really really a lot of fun. Taco Town, our reviewer Garth Gersten was a little tough on it because it's a really funny play, and then in the second act the script kind of veers off track, and I kind of agreed with that as well. As much as I wanted to love the whole thing, it just it wasn't quite there. It had like a it kind of turned away from a comedy, and that's what people were really enjoying, the comedy, and then all of a sudden it wasn't a comedy anymore. And I was thinking about Eureka Day, and there's a little bit of that element in Eureka Day as well, but I was trying to think about how the script actually works in that case, and I don't know. I'd have to think more about it, but it's not like you can't do that, but it's tough to do.
Do you think with further development that the play could kind of fix these issues?
Well, I think that that's probably true, but man, this play he's been working on it for like a decade. So I'm guessing that, he's maybe thinking he's done all he's going to do on it. So, but that aside, I'm sure a lot of people will go to it and have a good time. It really is. It's got a lot of really funny, Luke is a great funny dialogue writer. And it's definitely a fun play to go check out. So, and then you were at Family's Another World premiere, 504, the musical that you had a lot of good things to say about, right?
I did. I quite enjoyed this show. It's a musical that's a little bit of it's a historical riff for sure. It's set in 1977 when a group of about 150 disabled activists went to a San Francisco federal building where they were for 26 days protesting that the government enforce Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And the musical really is just that. It's these kind of different characters who all have different relationship to disability, kind of sitting in a room because they're cut off from the outside world and kind of debating what is disability, how do they get what they want, what are the best courses of action, who's inside the movement. Like there is a guy who is a recovering alcoholic, and one of the things that's really questioned is like, are drug addicts and alcoholics, are they disabled? Should they be given the same rights as somebody who has another form of disability, like a wheelchair user, perhaps? And that's an active live question in the play, particularly as politicians get involved and kind of question what they're doing and who deserves rights under this act. And I think the music, for the most part, really soars. It's very witty. It bounces around from a variety of styles based on which character is singing in a way that I really like. There's this really cool kind of patter song almost as well called All We Need to Do, in which because this was a protest that was happening in cities all around the country, but this was the only one that really lasted longer than a couple of days. And as these other cities are dropping out, in this kind of protest chant song, they just leave the blank space of the city until like half of the song is basically nothing. It's so powerful and effective because it quite literally makes the movement audibly crumble around them. And there's so many smart moments like that. Second act, as I detail in my review a little bit more, gets a little bit away from them. They kind of try to put this really positive spin on an issue that, as I argue in my review, is still very much actively being debated. Alaska, Florida, and Texas are currently challenging Section 504, but the musical kind of ends on this really happy note where the characters literally say, after, did we win? Yes, and there's no kind of further questioning of where this goes and the current state of disability. I think that, and the musical is so complicated throughout, that I just wish that the ending had continued that kind of strong work and strong foundation that it had laid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that one's, you'd said you really thought this one could have a more life beyond Denver, and they'll probably be working on tuning it up a little bit before they look into that.
1000%. I really do think that this is an important and unfortunately timely story. It's not awesome that this is being challenged actively by some states because this is what gives disabled folks a lot of core rights, such as the ability to get care in homes rather than being institutionalized. And so these are core rights, and it's wild that these states are attacking them. And so the more people who are educated about this fight, what was won, and what's at stake if this goes away, I think the better. And yeah, just a little bit of work to do, but I absolutely think this has the chance and hopefully does have a long life after Denver.
Yeah. We hear that phrase a lot these days, unfortunately timely. First, we relitigating and fighting battles of the past with these people out there that are trying to take it back. So good on them for surfacing this issue. On the lighter side, I loved your review of Comedy of Errors, which is Shakespeare in the Wild. It's supposed to be in the park, and Jen and I were actually thinking about going, and there were these amazing thunderstorms going on that night. But you went to see it in location B. What was that all about?
Yes. So I got the email a little bit before the showtime on opening night on Friday, August 14th, that instead of being outdoors in the park in Centennial, Shakespeare in the Wild would be performing in a vacant Ross Dress for Less, which doesn't maybe sound like the most enticing space to perform Shakespeare. I mean, you are literally situated between an active open Staples and a Marshalls. As you walk in, I was carrying my folding chair into the theater along with everybody else, a little bit suspicious. But as I got in, nobody let the change in location get them down. I saw the people had brought in these little tables that they had set up makeshift charcuterie boards on. People had cases of beer that they were cracking open. It was probably the most lively a Ross Dress for Less has ever been in the world. And it was really just an incredible evening. The production, directed by Aaron Vega, is a 9-person clown take on the Shakespeare's Comedy of Manners. The plot is famously absurd. It's 2 sets of identical twins who both have the same name and who get into a whole bunch of comic situations. So I think putting this kind of clown spin and embracing a kind of Three Stooges sensibility with all the slapstick violence that takes place throughout the show really worked. There's also tons of really cool pantomime moments that happened. There's this really cool speech at the top that this character gives about how the shipwreck happened and these folks got separated, that they act out with this cool ladder and this fabric and these kind of puppet things on their hands. And it's just really funny. And then there's all these costume changes because there's a whole lot more than 9 characters in Comedy of Errors. But Vega really works with that and makes a meal out of it for these actors, particularly in the final scene where characters are swapping between their different roles in view of the audience, particularly one character who then is just like literally talking to themselves. It's so funny and so precise and well executed. I wish I could have seen it outdoors in the park location as intended, but Shakespeare in the Ross was was not a bad alternative. I really enjoyed my evening.
Was there any like I don't know, these, I imagine these like steel clothes racks with a couple of old muumuus and pantsuits hanging on them, or was it completely empty?
It was pretty much empty for the most part. They had a kind of former like display case that they had set up their merchandise on in one part of the store, and the bathrooms were still active in the back, but for the most part it was cleared out.
All right. And then Tick, Tick, Boom. This is the Rent adjacent story. That who was it to put this on?
This was done at the Arts Hub, and it was a co-pro between the Hub and Shifted Lens Theater Company, who is kind of a mostly Denver-based company, but they do these partnerships up there with this Lafayette-based group every now and then. And yeah, like you said, this is kind of the prequel to Rent in many ways. Jonathan Larson writing it, and it's this kind of musical about what it's like to be an artist in New York who's turning 30 and hasn't had any real hits yet. And it's traditionally done as a pretty small cast with just 3 actors playing the roles. This is a larger production that has an ensemble in it, which I've seen before. It can work. As folks can read in my review, soon to be on Onstage Colorado, if it's not there already, by the time you're listening, there's a little bit of a mishmash with the choreography in that the ensemble is frequently upstaging the actual actors in scenes, doing kind of flash mob-esque choreo in the front that kind of physically acts out the words that the characters are saying in a way that literalizes a lot of the kind of thematic things in ways that I found a little bit strange, particularly just how it upstaged the actors in the show. There were some moments where it really worked, like in this bustling diner scene or at the musical premiere. It really, really works there. But there's other moments like the opening or this Green, Green Dress song, which is supposed to be a romantic duo between 2 people in which they're alone, becomes this kind of full blown out produced number in a way that I think just sat uneasily with the source material.
Okay. All right. Well, also new or new-ish on the site, your review of Urinetown from Rocky Mountain Rep. The guy who didn't like musicals from Maddie Branning. Check that out from a new theater company. Can't remember their name.
Singular Sensation.
That's right. Yeah. So they had a little bit of a rough first show, according to Maddie. As You Like It, which was done in I think the Colorado Springs from the Star Bar Players, who kind of a off again, on again theater. But our reviewer Judith Sears thought it was a really great production. And then Funky Theater did Savannah Sippin Society in Palmer Lake. Which April took. Our reviewer thought it was a kind of a fun Golden Girls kind of comedy that was fun to check out. So, and then on the music side, I was out at Dillon Amphitheater over the weekend. I saw Jesse Wells, and my review is up on the side of that. Second time I've seen him. Great musician with a lot to say about the state of the world. And then Maddie was out at Red Rocks last week also to see Mount Joy, kind of an indie folk band that a lot of people are digging on these days. So that's plenty of stuff on the site and more to come. So check it out all on onstagecolorado.com. And then we can move on.
Yeah, let's turn now to our main topic, a Colorado Fall Theater preview. As Alex mentioned at the top, kind of aside from summer stock and Shakespeare, the Front Range can feel a little bit quiet during the summer months, but that is all about to change with the start of the fall theater season.
Yeah. Fall is when a lot of theater companies really kind of hit their stride. It's they'll start their season in the fall. Not all of them, but many of them. So to help kick off the rapidly approaching onslaught of new shows, we've rounded up some of the key productions that are happening all across the state.
Yeah, and so for our list, we're not naming every show or even every show that a company does, but rather spotlighting particular productions that happen between September and December that we think should be on your radar, excluding holiday shows. None of those. Not doing that here.
The Onstage Colorado Podcast is supported by Curious Theater Company, presenting Top Dog Underdog, a Pulitzer Prize-winning masterpiece tour de force, thrilling, sharp, and emotionally explosive. 2 brothers, 1 room, everything on the line. Playing at the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Theater in Denver, August 27th through September 20th. Tickets at curioustheater.org. We're also sponsored by Theater Silco and Silverthorne, presenting Tenderly, the Rosemary Clooney musical, through September 13th. Through live performance, storytelling, and archival glimpses into her personal life, the show celebrates Clooney's incredible talent, resilience, and charm. Tickets at thesilco.org. Onstage Colorado is also supported by Upstart Crow Theater Company in Boulder, presenting Shakespeare's comedy Much Ado About Nothing, a play that feels less like a 400-year-old classic and more like a messy lover's quarrel you keep pretending not to watch as it gets louder. August 27th through September 6th at the Dairy in Boulder. Tickets at thedairy.org. And we're supported by Modus Theater, presenting No Contract, a tragicomic 2-person physical theater play by Kirsten Wilson about the dementia of her mother, Mary Wilson. September 17th through October 3rd at the Dairy in Boulder. Tickets at thedairy.org. All right. Well, let's kick it off with kind of on the northern part of the state, Boulder County, that area. What have you got to share?
Got a couple of dinner theater options right up at the start. First off, Jester's Dinner Theater in Longmont. Even though for years it's been talked about how they're going away, they are still kicking. Yes. God damn it! And they're producing The Producers, September 4th through November 29th. So you got a nice long run. They've got options. You can see the show with or without dinner, whatever your preference is. And The Producers is this rollicking Mel Brooks comedy adapted from the film of the same name that I'll actually mention another time on the list a little bit later. But the other dinner theater option is Candlelight Dinner Theater up north in Johnstown, and they are staging Les Miserables September 9th through November 15th. Feels like a really perfect pick for this company. It's a big, exciting stage musical, and I'm really curious to see how they sink their teeth into it, what it looks like on that stage out there. They've certainly got the room for it.
Yeah.
And for that barricade.
it's definitely right up there, right in their wheelhouse there. So, but it's a big tricky show. So, you had on a list here a company I hadn't heard of, Indigo Theater Company in Fort Collins. You know who these guys are?
Not a ton. They're a new-ish company in the area, and they're going to be over at the Lincoln Center for 2 nights, September 10th and 11th, doing Firebringer. This is from the same company, Team Star Kid, that did The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, which we've got a review up of the site on the site right now. They're kind of known for doing comedy musicals that they will upload in their entirety to YouTube. So if you want to, you can go watch Firebringer right now. Or you could go to Fort Collins and see it over at the Lincoln Center by Indigo Theater, and it's this prehistoric Neanderthal musical comedy about the discovery of fire in the Stone Age.
Oh, wow. Reminds me of that 80s film, Quest for Fire. Have you ever seen that?
I have not, no. Similar plot, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's more like they've got the fire, but then they sort of lose it and they have to go find some more. But anyway, and then Modus Theater in Boulder is doing something a little different from their usual programming. They're doing a show called No Contract. So this is more of a two-person, physical theater play by Kristen Wilson about the dementia of her mother, and that's running September 17th through October 4th. So yeah, definitely Modus stretching out a little bit of what they do.
Absolutely. This Kristen Wilson is the kind of artistic leader for Modus, has been working on that company for years. They do a lot of political theater, kind of
Yep.
improvisational stuff to kind of engage the community. And so, yeah, it is a little bit of a different thing for them to be doing this world premiere, but it's from a very honest place. This is written by Wilson about her mother, who is this very prominent activist, and it's kind of grappling with this idea of like, can dementia ever be a positive thing? Can you find joy from this thing? How do you stay positive in this thing that is can be incredibly intense? At least I'm speaking from my own experience in dealing with relatives who have gone through that. It can be a lot. And so I'm going to be checking this one out on its opening night, and very curious to see how they balance that kind of comic and tragic element in the piece.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other end of the spectrum, no pun intended, The Play That Goes Wrong at Longmont Theater Company, one of my favorite. It's just always so much fun. It's kind of, it's almost foolproof kind of show. You can kind of do it, and even if you screw up parts, it kind of just blends in. Not saying that Longmont Theater Company is going to do that, but so that's September 18th through October 3rd. Where are they? So they have their own facility there, still Longmont.
They do. It's on downtown, on the main street of Longmont. It's this big, massive, actually theater space. Like it's probably a 300-seater or whatnot.
Yeah.
There's like old timey popcorn machine in the lobby and whatnot, which I like.
Yes, Tony's all over that.
And this is kicking off their 70th season. Longmont Theater Company has a whole new team of leadership over there who have really been doing a lot of work on community engagement to kind of revitalize this company that for a time there was a lot of uncertainty about whether or not they were going to survive.
Yeah. All right.
Over in the Boulder area, local theater company has got another world premiere. Lots of world premieres this fall. That's going to be a continued trend. They've got Drag Queen Magic, or the torturous purgatorial experience of one Miss Let Us Celebrate, which is about this drag queen who is lip-syncing Lady Gaga, but then a strange woman shows up and gives her this kind of choice that then traps her in a Groundhog Day-like situation. Local theater did a little bit of a workshop of this last year. I didn't see it, but I heard really good things. Apparently it's hilarious. And so they're going to be doing the world premiere of this October 1st through the 17th.
All right. That sounds really interesting. And switching over to Golden at Miners Alley, they're doing Goodnight Oscar from October 2nd through November 8th. So this is going to have their Denver's own award-winning David Niels is the legendary Oscar Levant, the Broadway composer. And a lot of times we just see David behind the keys. So is he actually going to have speaking parts in this one?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is also quite an actor himself. I'm remembering correctly, he actually got his start as a touring actor on the Rocky Horror Show, many years ago,
Okay.
and he was acting in that, and that's where he met his writing partner for the Trailer Park Musicals
Right.
stuff. So yeah, he definitely is an actor. That's where he got his start. So I am looking forward to seeing him on stage in this production over in Golden for sure.
Yeah. Not a world premiere, but a regional premiere.
That's right. And then I'm going to do these next three together because they're all kind of spooky season programming
Hmm.
in Boulder County area. So the Arts Hub in Lafayette is doing Little Shop of Horrors October 9th through the 25th. CU Boulder College of Music is doing Sweeney Todd, the Dean and Barber of Fleet Street, October 23rd through the 25th. And then Longmont Theater Company is doing the Rocky Horror Show October 23rd through the 31st. So a performance actually on Halloween itself.
All right. Got to be there for that. Coal Creek Theater of Louisville is doing Doubt, a Parable, always a popular drama, coming through October 30th through November 14th. So this is one of those pretty heavy-duty plays, I guess you would say, set at a Catholic school in the Bronx in the 60s about a strict nun who suspects a priest of improper behavior with a student.
And if you want to keep the spooky season going all throughout November, Open Stage Theater and Company is going to be your friend up in Fort Collins, as they have got Stephen Dietz's adaptation of Dracula running October 31st through November 28th. I last saw this adaptation staged over at Firehouse Theater Company a couple of years ago. It
Hmm.
really is just Dracula. There's a lot of fun stuff for the Renfield character in there, I remember too. So I got an invitation to come review this up north in Fort Collins, and I think I am going to go check this out. I like their stuff for the most
Cool.
part.
All right. So CU, the Boulder Department of CU Boulder Department of Theater of Dance is doing the 150 Project, a new play rooted in student stories, November 6th through 15th. So of course, this is the sesquicentennial of Colorado. So there's a lot of 150 things going around. Do you know much more about this one?
Yeah, I do know just a little bit more about it. Is that the Department of Theater and Dance is partnering with Tectonic Theater Project, who created the Laramie Project, to create this new work. So nothing else about the specific stories, but they're going to be using their kind of signature movement work process to create this devised production based on the student performers and other stories that they collect throughout this process.
Okay. And then back up north to Fort Collins, Bob Blue is coming out of their quiet period doing Dancing at Luganis, November 13th through December 6th. This is a show I'm familiar with, but I've never seen it. Have you ever seen this one?
No, I never have.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have to make a trek up to Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Um, and what else? There's another one in Boulder you've got here.
Yeah, a couple more in the Boulder area. So the Spark in Boulder is doing Annie, November 20th through December 6th, a very popular musical about a
Mm-hmm.
little orphan. Upstart Crow Theater Company, also in Boulder, is doing Harvey, that play about a man who's best friends with a giant rabbit. That's going to
Mm-hmm.
be at the Dairy, December 3rd through the 13th. And then Boulder Ensemble Theater Company is doing The Fair Maid of the West, also at the Dairy Center. And this is an adaptation of Thomas Hayworth's Elizabethan drama that follows the adventures of Liz, who is this rat catcher and barmaid who's falsely accused of murder and has to then go on this whole crazy adventure.
Wow. Rat catcher / barmaid. That's a resume item you don't see very often these days.
Yeah, it's
All right.
very
Well,
true.
heading down I-25 to Colorado Springs and the surrounding area, the Fine Arts Center is doing Come From Away, always a popular title there, September 10th through October 4th. And then their sort of counterpoint part Ent Center at the University of Colorado Springs doing Sweeney Todd, another kind of sort of a spooky season play, but although it's a little earlier, September 10th through October 4th.
We've already mentioned Sweeney Todd twice, and this will not be the last time Sweeney Todd
I know.
appears.
Yeah. And then at Springs Ensemble Theater Company, we were just talking about, they're doing Heroes of the Fourth Turning, which was also done at Curious Theater a couple of years ago. This is a Will Arbery play that sort of digs into the whole, conservative movement and like some pretty fairly political in a lot of ways, November 5th through 22nd. You and I were talking when we were there about how Springs Ensemble Theater is sort of like the Curious of the Colorado Springs area. They definitely have similar tastes in the kind of material that they like to tackle down there.
Definitely. And there's absolutely a need for it in the market, as none of the other companies in the area, I don't think, would dare touch a show like Heroes of the Fourth Turning, which is essentially like a 2.5-hour conversation by a fireside with a bunch of conservatives, just kind of just going through all of the hot button issues.
Yep. And speaking of Sweeney Todd, this is not Sweeney Todd, but the Buell Theater is doing a world premiere of, they're mostly doing melodramas there, but they have Sweeney, ! The Demon Barber of Cripple Creek, October 2nd through November 1st. I'm sure that's a ton of fun with the silliness that they do down there.
God, the Buell Theater and their funny melodrama names that they come up with.
Those are great names, yeah.
Gosh, we always say we need to get down there. Maybe for this one, world premiere, adaptation of their town, Sweeney Todd's so popular this season. Maybe this is the excuse that we need to just drive down.
Yep, another road trip south.
Absolutely.
Let's move on Denver over. Metro, the big dog.
That's right, yeah. So kicking things off, technically cheating just a little bit because the show does open in August, but it runs throughout most of September, so whatever. And it's a big one. It's Top Dog Underdog. This is the first show by Curious Theater Company that they're doing in collaboration with Cleo Parker Robinson over in its space while its home on Acoma gets renovated. And so this show follows two brothers who have been abandoned by their parents, and each one is kind of searching for purpose. And as the two navigate work, long-standing resentments and old rivalries begin to resurface.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing, and it'll be weird to see Curious in any other space than that Acoma, the old church there for sure, because I've been seeing them there since the 90s when they opened that theater. So in Aurora, Third Side Theater Company is doing Brindlewood, September 3rd through 13th. So this is a new musical woven with shadow and song, following the journey of a young girl who wanders too far from home and finds herself lost in an ancient forest older than time. Wow.
I am looking forward to checking this one out. It says it's kind of got folky style music in it as well. From looking at some of the videos that they've shared on social media, they've got some cool puppetry for the animals in the forest as well. It looks like Third Side is really kind of specialized in doing this really handmade, down-to-earth style shows, and this seems like very much in that lane.
Where are they doing this? In Roaming Gnome or?
It's going to be at the People's Building.
Oh, People's Building. Okay. And then another biggie, Arvada Center is doing Misery, September 4th through October 11th. So this is going to have Jeffrey Kent and Jackie Wilkie starring in the show, directed by Lynn Collins, the artistic director over there at Arvada. This is a pretty popular show that people do. That's of course it's a two-hander and very creepy. So it's kind of pre-spooky season. But I've never seen the actual play as many times it's been produced, so I'm going to go check this one out.
You missed the production at Miner's Alley with Emma Messenger in the role.
Yes,
oh my, she was she's fantastic in that. I'm so sorry you missed that. I'm sure this one will be great too, but that one is so seared into my mind. It was so excellent.
Yep.
Over in the Lakewood area, Performance Now Theater Company is kicking off its season with Gypsy, September 11th through the 27th. This is a musical about a show mom and her two daughters who go in incredibly divergent life paths. And you and I are going to be checking this out on its opening night over at the Lakewood Cultural Center.
Yeah. I'm almost ashamed to admit I've never seen Gypsy. Just one of those shows I just never have gotten to. So looking forward to seeing it.
I'm not surprised given that you are not a Sondheim person, because this is one of his, and
That's
I
true.
find this is one of my favorites from him. It might even be my favorite if I don't know. This Merrily We Roll Along and Company all kind of switch back and forth for my favorite, but this is definitely up there. You definitely know some of the music from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
as well. We'll talk more about that later though. Uh, DCPA Theater Company has got a pretty cool sounding regional premiere, Destiny of Desire, a telenovela play with music that's running September 11th through October 4th. This is a piece that they're doing. It's actually a co-production with the Center Theater Group, and it's set in Mexico. Two baby girls are born, one into outlandish wealth and one into a life of poverty. But then the newborns are swapped at birth, leading to a whole bunch of comic situations. This play is written by Karen Zakaras, who I recently saw her work Just Like Us, done by Su Teatro. That script is really cool. That was a Denver-based one. This one sounds like it's in a different direction, kind of riffing explicitly, as the title says, on telenovelas and kind of those themes. And so curious to see what that looks like in execution over at the Denver Center.
Yeah, for sure. Over in Aurora, if you missed the producers at Gesture Theater, you got a chance to catch it at Vintage Theater, September 12th through October 11th. And this is the company's 200th show, which I saw that and I was like, wow, it almost seems like Vintage has done 2,000 shows because they're such a prolific theater company. But yeah, 200 is a big number.
Absolutely. It's a huge milestone. The cast looks very cool, like a good company. I'm going to check this out on its opening night. I've never seen the Producers musical live before, so this will be my first Producers when I see it. I've obviously seen the original film
Right.
by Mel Brooks, and then I've seen the adaptation of the musical that is really bad. So hopefully it's easy bar to clear to be better than that.
Yeah. So one of the theaters at the Denver Center that we always keep a close eye on because they have such long runs, and if they have one that's not great, they're stuck with it for a while. But at the Garner Galleria is doing Hold On to Your Butts, September 16th to October 4th, which was kind of a short run for the Garner Galleria. But this was a show that it's about Jaws, right? Oh, no, Jurassic Park. That's right. And it was done here last year, I think. Sometime was it? I can't remember where it was, but it's basically got it's two actors in a Foley audience performing a live shot-for-shot parody of Jurassic Park, which I'm keen to check out. I'm a big Jurassic Park fan. Always check out Jurassic Park stuff. It should be fun.
Did you end up going to Jurassic Park at Red Rocks?
No, I did not. No.
I
only saw Princess Bride there this year.
Okay. I was just curious. I knew at one point you were talking about going, so
yeah.
I was unsure. I heard it sold out. Apparently, it was really cool.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yep.
Next one is this is another pick from Boulder Ensemble Theater Company, being done both at the Savoy in Denver and at the Dairy Center. It's called The Weir.
Yeah.
The Weir. It's Irish. That's right. It's this is a play by Connor McPherson, and it is about a woman who arrives at this remote country pub in Ireland, and the men there all start telling ghost stories, and then she reveals a startling story of her own. This is a very famous and well-regarded play. I've never seen it before, though. Have you?
No, I haven't. I was talking to Mark Reagan over there at Betsy about it a couple of months ago, and he was telling me they were doing it, and it sounds really cool. And a very different kind of thing for them. It's just ghost stories.
It seems very reminiscent of, and maybe not, maybe it won't end up being, but of the Thin Place that they did last season in terms of a bunch of folks swapping stories that end up being a little supernatural in nature.
Mm-hmm. All right. A Miscreant Theater Collective in Aurora is doing a Machinal September 24th to October 3rd. What do you know about this one? Machinal?
Yeah, this is a really old play. It's from, I guess not that old.
1928?
Well, it depends on your definition of old. 1928 play. And it's about a real-life woman, Ruth Snyder, who was kind of stripped of her identity. And this is about a woman who is pressured into marriage, motherhood, and a life she never controlled, and kind of her battle out of it. It's a very kind of surrealist and intense piece. It's I'm curious. I've only read it before in drama class for to kind of talk about this period and style of theater that it's riffing on. Very kind of machine and intense, and in terms of the style. So, but I've never seen it before. So this will be my first one over in Aurora.
All right. Cool.
Over in Firehouse Theater Company, also in Denver, they're doing the Colorado premiere of The Hatmaker's Wife. It centers on a young woman who moves in with her boyfriend, expecting domestic bliss, but instead has a little bit of trouble getting comfortable. Her strange new home seems determined to help her out, and soon the walls are talking. This one's inspired by Yiddish folklore and is a tale about family, home, and how we treat people we love. And it's going to be over on stage there September 26th through October 25th.
Okay. Cool. There's so many titles that end with wife, somebody's wife. So it's curious to see what that one is. Elemental Theater Company in Lakewood, formerly Wheat Ridge Theater Company, is doing The Turn of the Screw, October 1st to 11th. So this is based on Henry James's novel about a young governess hired to care for 2 children. And this has ghosts going on in it as well. So a little bit of spooky stuff there. And then I love the title of this one. Buntport Theater Company in Denver has doing a world premiere. Of course, all of their shows are usually world premieres if they're not reboots. The Vampire of Lafayette, October 2nd through 24th. What do we know about this one?
So nothing else other than it is a world premiere and that title, but a little bit of research shows me that there is an urban legend in Lafayette, Colorado that circulated around the 1950s in which local youth were told by their parents that a vampire was buried in the Lafayette cemetery, and that if they didn't get back in the house by a certain time, this vampire would come out and get them.
Okay. Sounds fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess it's riffing on that. Maybe it's a different thing. Maybe they're inventing something entirely new. You never know with Buntport. All we know is it will likely be a zany show.
All right. And we got more ghosts coming up in Aurora. What's this one?
So this is over at the Aurora Fox Art Center. It's a show called Feeding Beatrice, being done October 2nd through November 1st. It's a regional premiere. It's being directed by a friend of the podcast, Betty Hart, and it centers a Black couple who is haunted by a white ghost in this Gothic tale that's exploring both race and class.
Interesting. Aren't most ghosts white?
Yes, I suppose you're right, Alex.
I guess the classic ghost and the sheeted ghost is
white. But
or diaphanous,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, cloud-like. Yeah, okay. Family Theater Company is doing Tiny Beautiful Things, another popular title. They're doing it at Aurora, I'm assuming in the People's Building, October 8th through 18th.
That's right. And they kind of got an interesting twist on this in that they are doing this show, which is normally done by the one person plays Sugar, the person who is getting all these letters in to the advice column. And then a couple of actors play all the various people who are writing letters in. Family's doing a different twist. There's only going to be one actor on stage, I believe, the actress who's playing Sugar, and then there's going to be over 100 disabled actors worldwide who are shown on video being all the different letter writers.
Wow.
Not sure how that will work in theatrical effect. Maybe it will feel clunky, kind of transitioning between these different folks. What will the backgrounds look like? Or maybe that will be a cool thing. It's all these different people who are supposed to be from different locations, and you're actually getting to see them all embodied by different people from all across the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. We will see come October 8th over at the People's Building.
All right. You want to tell us about the next Sweeney Todd installment?
Yeah, we've got another Sweeney going on. This one's being done by the Platte Valley Theater Company in Brighton, October 9th through the 18th. They always do really, really sharp work over there. This is at the Armory Performance Center, kind of in the downtown Brighton area. Pretty big venue. This is one of Kelly Van Osprey's companies that she is a part of. And yeah, we saw Cabaret there that was excellent. I saw Much Ado About Nothing there recently. It's very strong. So I expect this will be another excellent Sweeney Todd.
Yep, I'm sure it will be.
What do you think it is about Sweeney Todd that's hitting so hard this theater season? It's being done all over in all different regions.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's probably a coincidence. I mean, it's definitely, a good spooky season kind of property, but it does seem like there's an inordinate number of them. But, there's plenty of Sweeney Todd to go around,
Yeah,
You don't have to travel far to see it.
Absolutely. To me, I guess I'm kind of wondering, like, it's a Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd is a little bit of a story just about this kind of a man who feels upset by and misled by the government, who takes actions into his own hands in kind of vigilante justice style. I don't know. It's something I'm kind of thinking about. It. Maybe that's kind of a thing that kind of sentiment is certainly popular in our times.
Yep. Back at Vintage Theater in Aurora, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Robert Louis Stevenson's classic tale of horror, going on October 24th through November 2nd, so right in the heart of spooky season. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, and this adaptation features 4 actors who play Hyde, all the various aspects of that personality, which I don't know, that's an interesting kind of twist on how to approach that figure of Hyde.
Yeah. I've never read the book. I mean, I know the story, of course, but I've never seen a book or a movie or any plays about it. So I'll go try and check that out.
I was in a comedy adaptation of Jekyll and Hyde. I played Dr. Jekyll's mother in this farcical situation. I don't actually never read the original story though, so I don't really know that version of it. Family Theater Company has got another show they're doing this fall. This one over at Lone Tree, short run, November 5th through the 8th. They're remounting Pericles, an adaptive show for people with cognitive disabilities. So this was kind of co-created with Flute Theater in London, and it uses the Hunter heartbeat method, which is this rhythmic style of storytelling that's geared towards audiences with cognitive disabilities.
Okay. Sounds intriguing.
And then this is the long run over at the Garner Galleria that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, but not a comedy.
No, not a comedy. They are doing What a Glorious Feeling, November 7th, 2026 through April 4th, 2027. And this is a play with music that is a fictionalized account of what may have taken place behind the scenes during the making of the classic film Singing in the Rain.
I've always wondered what might have taken place during the making of Singing in the Rain. It seems so random, but yeah, that sounds interesting.
I guess I'll have to watch Singing in the Rain. I know one
I've
classic musical that has escaped me.
Yeah, I've only seen that one clip of them, singing in the rain. Curious Theater Company is doing a show called One of the Good Ones, November 14th into December. This is a regional premiere about a Latina daughter who brings her unexpected white-looking boyfriend home to meet her multi-generational Latino-American family in California. So that sounds like a curious show.
Yeah, if you want something a little bit lighter, the Arvada Center is doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, November 18th through January 3rd. This is their holiday adjacent show, but it makes the list because it's not actually about any holiday things in here.
Yep.
Love this musical. I was actually just listening to it today on the treadmill as I was working out. It's a great song to run to, a great album to work to, because so many fast-paced, upbeat songs. The genre is always kind of switching between all the different characters. It's definitely one of the cast albums I really do enjoy running to.
Yeah, it is a great musical, and it's definitely one that you can see over and over again over the years. So. Speaking of Christmas season shows that aren't Christmas themed, Town Hall in Littleton is doing Big, the musical, November 20th through December 27th. So this is a stage adaptation of the 1988 Tom Hanks film where he gets turned into a little boy. And I did have not seen this. I didn't know there was a stage adaptation of this. So that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I also didn't know there was a stage adaptation until I was doing a little bit of research for this list. But yeah, I wonder what the style is of this. It's a fun plot.
Yeah.
Little boy gets to become an adult man. Seems like it could
Yep.
be musicalized.
Sure.
And then Firehouse Theater Company in Denver is doing Chicken and Biscuits, November 21st through the December 20th. This is a regional premiere that's full of black joy, grief, and healing that follows an extended family who are brought back to St. Luke's Church I think it's for the death of their patriarch or
Hmm.
something there. So I'm looking forward to checking that one out at Firehouse around the holidays, but not
Yeah,
a holiday show.
that's right. Firehouse has been red hot. They're doing a lot of great work the last few years. So that should be one to check out. All right, we're going to round things down with a swing through the mountain towns in the southern part of Colorado. Of course, mountain towns could mean just outside of Denver, kind of in the mountains. It could mean way down south, going to be part of southern Colorado. So don't take us too seriously about what mountain town means, other than it's probably sort of higher than 6,000 feet. So Crested Butte Mountain Theater, which I think has been a little quiet lately. But they're coming back with a banger, Frankie and Johnny and the Claire de Lune, great play in early September. And then Theater Silka is doing a Lauren Gunderson play called The Catastrophist, September 15th through 27th. And that is I don't know that play. Tony, you know what the story is of the Catastrophist?
Not really.
That's
Yeah, no,
okay.
I've never seen it. Let me look. I'm doing a Google right now in real time. So it looks like it's
Oh,
a
wow.
play about a pandemic specialist, uh, written during the height of the pandemic.
Okay. All right. And then Thunder River in Carbondale is doing Every Brilliant Thing in September 11th through the 27th. And then I was talking to Missy Moore, the artistic director there, when I was at Taco Town at Miners Alley, and she's really excited about their next show, Beyond Reason, in November. So this is Colorado playwright Katie Carlson's comedy about mediums in the late 1800s. So I told her to try and get up there for that one. Not to say she's not excited about Every Brilliant Thing as well, but this was one she's like, you got to come up and see this one.
Wow. When she asks you to come up, you got to do it.
I know.
You've known her for years, her whole life, right?
Yeah. So just mention that Rocky Mountain Repertory Theater is closing out their season with Never Can Say Goodbye, the 70s Beehive musical, September 4th through October 3rd. So man, they have a long season. But yeah, that's all of their other shows will be dark, and then they zoom into this one for September.
Yeah, a little bit of a last hurrah before I imagine it gets quite difficult to get around there because of all the snow. It's
Yeah.
beautiful right now, but it's super remote.
It's a big snowmobile place in the wintertime.
Oh, really? That
Yeah.
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So the Aspen Community Theater is doing Cinderella November 13th through the 22nd. Do we know if that's the musical adaptation or a play?
It is. It's the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella.
Got it. And then Evergreen Players are doing Dracula Comedy of Terrors in October. This was the title that was up at the Denver Center for months, and
Yeah, big
now
hit.
is going to be done at the local level.
Yep. And then in Conifer, which you could argue is that a mountain town, it's pretty close to Denver, but yeah, it's kind of in the mountains there. So they're doing Fools by Neil Simon, October 3rd through 27th. They also had something on their site saying an original musical called Muse of Fire, but there was no information on timing of it. So I'm not sure what that one's all about, but maybe we'll hear about it at some point. Swinging way down south, I just want to mention that Creed Repertory Theater continues its season into September with all of their shows, Moriarty, Fully Committed, 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and Working, that ends up September 19th.
And then the Merely Players in Durango are doing The Importance of Being Earnest, this very classic, very funny Oscar Wilde piece, September 25th through October 4th.
And then we got one more, Les Miserables at Steel City Theater in Pueblo. They're doing that October 16th through November 1st, so a pretty big swing for them.
Yeah, and I guess that Pueblo and Johnstown are far enough apart that they didn't,
Yeah.
that the company wasn't worried about any overlap in
No,
audience.
probably the Venn diagram of theater goers doesn't overlap too much between those two theaters. So, all right, well, that's a lot of shows. It's not all of them, but we hit lots of them. So, moving on, as promised, we have Toni's interview with Spamalot's Chris Collins-Pisano, who plays a number of different roles in the touring production now up at the Denver Center. So let's hear that now.
I'm here with Chris Collins-Pisano, who plays Sir Lancelot, the French Taunter, the Knight of Ni, and Tim the Enchanter in the national tour of Monty Python's Spamalot. I saw the show on its opening night here in Denver and just thought he was hilarious. So I'm sitting down with him now to talk about the big characters, silly choreo, and how he keeps the comedy fresh on the road. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Onstage Colorado podcast, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Oh, man, thank you so much. I'm just happy to be here, get to talk a little more about the show.
Yeah, well, I suppose I should have started with this, but welcome back to Denver. You've been here before. I've seen you on stage with Forbidden Broadway. What do you remember about that trip, and what's it like coming back now with Spamalot?
It's actually really a little bit of a full circle kind of thing, because we were here. I've actually been to the Garner Galleria twice doing Forbidden Broadway. I was here in 2022, I believe, December of 2022, and then we came back with a new edition last summer. And I remember being here last summer working doing Forbidden Broadway, and I was here when I got my audition for Spamalot. And I sent my audition tape in from the housing that we had at Brooks Towers, right close to the performing arts campus. And so that it was very interesting, because I did the tape, and then while I was waiting to hear back, about whether I got a callback or not, which was a couple weeks, I would go to the Garner Galleria every day. And because the Garner Galleria and the Buell are right across from each other, I would look at the season for the next year at the Buell, and I would look at Spamalot, and I'd be like, hey, maybe, you never know, maybe I'll be back. And it's so it's really, really crazy to be back here. I've always been curious about playing the Buell and what it's like. And it's just one of the most gorgeous theaters that I've seen on this tour so far. So it's really crazy to be back.
Yeah, that's so awesome, that going from looking at the poster that in the season announcement to now that big Spamalot poster is all over the DCPA Arts Complex, and you're part of the tour.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Before we get more into your performance, I'm curious, what was your relationship with Monty Python and Monty Python and the Holy Grail like before you joined the show?
Oh man, I was definitely one of those kids who ran around when they were like in their preteens and early teens, just like shouting quotes from the movie all the time. I was totally obsessed with Monty Python when I was in middle school. I think probably because somebody showed me the Holy Grail, and then I started, really going to town on Flying Circus. I got a bunch of DVDs for Flying Circus and wore them out. I would do like Monty Python sketches with my friends at like school talent shows, thinking that it's the most brilliant, like we're bringing this beautiful comedy to these other 12-year-olds. It was so maybe embarrassing to look back upon, but it's like a foundational, like comedic pillar for me. I really, really, really get down for their stuff. And I think they're so funny, and their like ensemble work and the way that they're all so different and how they kind of like come together still to create this like beautiful, beautiful ensemble. I think it really still gets me going. And just like, it's like, I don't really have a bad day when I do this show and when I go to work, because, I still feel like it's kind of a dream come true to get to do this comedy every day.
How often do you and the folks on tour rewatch the film? Is that something that's in your rotation on tour?
That's interesting. I don't think I've rewatched the movie in its entirety since like right before rehearsal. I like rewatched it. And I mean, whenever I have found, and this is especially like earlier in the tour and during rehearsals, that I like was having trouble with a scene or with any of these characters, I would just go back to the movie and watch what John Cleese does, because I feel like it's so easy to feel like, especially when you translate it to the stage instead of it just being a movie, like you can feel you'll want to like put a little extra on top of it, or find some sort of dazzle for it. And every time that I've gone back and watched the movie, or even if you like go and like, research some of the original Broadway stuff, you're like, okay, right. This writing is so phenomenal. And I think it's just me doing it, over like 275 times right now that you're like, maybe there's more to get out of this one. Really, you can just say the words and it's, going to translate just as it has for 50 years.
So as I mentioned up top, you're in your track, you're kind of constantly bouncing around roles between Lancelot, Taunting, Knight of Knee, Tim the Enchanter. How do you make all those guys distinct?
The joke that I use a lot about this is that I really just kind of start with highway robbery. I mean, with something like this, with like doing like these characters that a lot of people know, there's like expectations that kind of come with it. And I find that kind of like, I don't think that's a cage really. I find that pretty freeing because you're like, great, I know what you guys are looking for. You know what you're expecting. So I can start with that. And, that's a great baseline. And I've never done a show that really comes with this many like baked in fans of not just the musical, but the movie as well. So you kind of feel like you want to deliver the experience that they're looking for. So I feel like that I find exciting. It's exciting to give people like, I fart in your general direction, and to say knee for the first time every night and hear a bunch of people in the audience say it back, and the laugh when you say Tim as Tim. It's like, you're like, great, we're all doing this together. So I can just give it to you. And then we're both succeeding there. So I think it keeps just honoring the source material, keeps it fresh, but then also getting to, do it on a stage, and kind of the freedom that comes with the role and some of the improv aspects that are a part of it. You get to really kind of take it in your own direction too, which is very fun.
Following up on that improv that you just said, one of the things I absolutely loved from opening night was how much the show, and specifically you, got to play with references specifically to Denver. Like,
Yeah.
you had this incredible Frank Azar bit and the South Park references that you did. How much of the show actually changes from city to city, and who comes up with these local jokes?
So yeah, we, like me, Amanda, who plays the Lady of the Lake, and Stephen Telsey, who plays like 500 roles in the show. But we each have like some, and then Robin has some improv too, but we're really the ones that kind of do more local stuff. And I kind of like stumbled onto it when we were in DC for 3 weeks. And that's not true. I guess I kind of started it in Cleveland when we opened. I would say Cleveland rocks and do some stuff. But it's just like, I have a few times in the show where I get to do my own thing. And I think one of the greatest perks about getting to take the show on the road and go around the country to all these different towns is it's such a great way to connect with people, especially when you're doing this kind of like crazy highbrow, lowbrow, dry British humor that is really, really funny, but maybe some people need a little warming up to really access it the same way as the rest of the audience. So I think it's a great way to bring people in. I just get a kick out of it. The amount of like lawyers that I've found around the country that have amazing jingles that people recognize or have been places for like 15 years plus. It's just so much fun. And so I kind of like, I take that upon myself whenever we arrive. The day we open, I just go on Google, I go on YouTube, and I start doing some, little like research of different like businesses. Like when we were in Charlotte, I was doing a jingle for this air conditioning company, and I would just do that every day. And that is still one of my favorite memories from the tour. So, it's a great way to connect with the audience. It's a great way to do it. Like last night, I was walking to the theater with a castmate, and we'd seen all these people kind of running around, and he was like, where are you all going? And they're like, oh, well, there's this Zach Bryan concert at the stadium or whatever. And I was like, okay, great. I can make a joke about that. And so, it's just it's a cool way to keep it current. It's a lot of fun. I really get a kick out of it. And so I also I change the Night of Knee thing like every day. I'll keep like the local references because they work, but I kind of like keeping King Arthur on his toes. I think it's fun to do that. So I mean, it's one of our favorite things to do, but I've definitely been a bit of a problem for him in that respect.
Yeah, he definitely looked like he was really intensely listening, trying to capture every part of it. I'm guessing you don't obviously fill him in on that before you're making him listen and repeat in real time.
Yes. I mean, I went up to him at some point during Act One, and I was like, hey, call me Attorney Frank Azar, the strong arm. I was like, just have that floating around in your brain. Because if it's stuff that neither of us really knew before the show, then I'll like let him know because we've talked about it before privately, and we both think that like leaving him completely out to dry doesn't really serve really the story or the scene, or just like our relationship as actors there, to like leave him completely out to dry. It's so much better when he can come back and succeed and pass the test, and you get that second kind of response from the audience hearing him after, because I think it's cool when I get to surprise them with stuff like local things they're not expecting to hear, or other things they're not expecting to hear. And then I think it's so wonderful for it to be repeated by King Arthur, because then you get a different kind of comedic response because everybody's waiting to hear it a second time. And so I think it's a really great trade-off if we both kind of like, if there's a little bit of planning involved.
Totally. So you're performing this comedy over and over while traveling around the country. What is tour life actually like?
It's interesting. It's definitely like got that kind of like glamorous kind of like thing that people might have when you think about it outside. I mean, like, you get to travel every week, you get to see all these different cities. I've been to so many bookstores, I've been to so many record stores, I've been to so many, like, you really get to live out like whatever strange hobbies you have. You can really find like how, all these wonderful places to kind of seek that out around the country. And I really love just seeing all these different cities and exploring them and the history around, the country. So that's really, really amazing for me and for all of us. I think it's such a gift to get to meet people from all around the country, and especially in times where it seems like it can be hard for everybody to talk to each other about stuff. You get to kind of break through that a little bit. And Amanda, and some of the talkbacks we've done after the show, she's kind of had this amazing thing that she says where she's like, times are pretty crazy these days, but you go to a show like Spamalot, and if you're laughing at a joke, I bet if you look to your side, you'll see that whoever's sitting next to you is laughing at the same thing. So, we're not all really that unalike on some levels. So that's been great. But, at the same time, it's hard. I mean, my girlfriend and my two cats are back in the city, and I barely ever get to see them. So that part can get hard. And, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your body and your mind. And, different people have different levels of being able to do that. I definitely fall off the horse of taking care of my body. It's just like, it's like a roller coaster ride. You have a couple of weeks where you feel absolutely amazing, and then you have a couple of weeks where you feel homesick every day. So it is a job and it's work, but to me, it's still like the luckiest job in the world. And, as actors, we don't get to, job security is not really in the in the description of what we do. So getting to have like a year straight of work and have it be a show that you've always wanted to do, I can't complain that much.
Totally, yeah. It sounds like there are some trade-offs, but the experience of being on tour is still pretty fun. And you've been to Denver before, and you mentioned you like going and exploring those different spots. Where in Denver do you enjoy hitting up?
Oh man, let's see. Where do I mean, I really want to, I think the last two times I was here, I kind of kept to the area. I mean, like, we don't have cars or anything, so you kind of do what you can. But I'm hoping in these 2 weeks to kind of get out and explore kind of other neighborhoods or go to some places that I haven't been before. But I'm a sucker for live music. I spent a lot of time last summer at where did I go? I think I go to Appaloosa Grill on 16th Street a lot because they have music every night. I go to Herb's Hideaway or Herb's Hideout over near Coors Field because they have music every night. Those are kind of my haunts after Forbidden Broadway for sure.
A jazz fan, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, 100%. Huge jazz fan. We were just in Kansas City recently, and I got to go to the American Jazz Museum, which I thought was really cool. Never been to that. I'm also currently rewatching Ken Burns' jazz documentary about jazz for the second time. So yeah, you definitely got me there. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting out and doing some more live music. There's some restaurants here that I really love. I got to go to Sam's again and challenge myself with one of their amazing decadent breakfasts. I really love it here. I'm a big fan of this town. The people here are amazing. The way that you guys like handle and treat and the arts and the respect for it. And just like, like the first time when I was here in 2022 and I stepped into the DCPA like campus, like I really don't think there's another way to describe that area. Like I was just like, wow, this is so, not as rare as I think now that I've been around the country a lot to see how like other cities have their art set up and stuff. But this is definitely like it really takes the cake.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful facility. So, of all the characters and ridiculous moments that you get to play every night, which one is still the most fun for you?
Oh man, I mean, it really is an embarrassment of riches, and I'm very, very lucky to get to play, and I'm super grateful to get to play this part because it's so fun. So it kind of like switches off. I mean, the night of like doing the night of me thing is definitely one of the top things every day, and the French Taunter is just like it's just a dream come true. But like these days, we're kind of getting into kind of one of the more towards the last leg of this tour. Sometimes I really like Lancelot is kind of like the best sometimes. One of the things that I find so funny about this show is that like, at the beginning, there's a lot of setup of like, oh, these are the knights, like this is the crew, this is the team, we're out, we're always together, we solve all these problems together. And then I don't think I'm in a scene with the other knights as Lancelot post and like Knights of the Round Table once we're all established. I don't think I have a scene with everybody until the end of Act 2 after Tim. I come on stage and I'm like, oh, right. So I think it's very funny that in all these scenes where the knights have to tackle like these obstacles or these opponents or whatever, Lancelot is never there. And it's never like nobody talks about it. And because I have to play these other guys. But so sometimes, those moments as Lancelot, there's the whole like Prince Herbert thing in Act 2. And he goes on gets his whole arc, finished up and stuff. And that's so fun. But sometimes I really hang on to those scenes with the other knights because that camaraderie is so fun to play, and that group dynamic for them is hysterical, and I don't get to do it as much as the other guys do.
That makes sense. I guess I didn't think about that. There is often you are going and doing those kind of more antagonistic roles rather than getting to be one of the part of the crew.
I know it's really funny, but I think it's worthwhile as a trade-off though.
Absolutely. Well, Monty Python's Spamalot is now playing at the Buell Theater in Denver through August 23rd. Chris, thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your time here in Denver.
Thank you so much. Thanks for chatting with me about all this stuff. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun hearing his take on what it's like to be on stage with that absolutely sort of batshit roles that he's got in that one. A lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very generous with his time. Really appreciate Chris coming on and just chatting a little bit about what it was like to get this role. It was really cool to hear the story of how he was auditioning for the Spamalot tour while he was here in Denver doing Forbidden Broadway. So just pretty cool tidbits, kind of a full circle moment for that actor as well.
Yeah. It's great. All right. Well, reviews that are up on the site are coming up, including the Comedy of Errors that we were just talking about from Shakespeare in the Wild. Tenderly at Theater Silco, Kim Nicoletti just sent that over to me, so we'll have that up soon. That's Ann Terza Schwartz up there in the role of Rosemary Clooney there. She said it was just fantastic. You mentioned Tick, Tick, Boom from Shifted Lens. Murder for Two coming up at American Crossroads Theater. Top Dog Underdog from Curious at Cleo Parker Robinson. The Grown Ups from Absurd Rodeo Theater, and more. So there's two in there. I don't even recognize. What is American Crossroads Theater and Absurd Rodeo Theater? Do you know these two?
So I don't really know much else about American Crossroad Theater other than they are producing Murder for Two at the Dairy this month. So I'll maybe have a little bit more information after I attend the opening night of that on, I guess, Thursday of this week. But they're a new company. I couldn't even really find a website for them when I was looking to reach out. I had to reach out through the Dairy to get in contact with them. So not really sure what their deal is. And then Absurd Rodeo Theater is this kind of a company started by two younger theater artists, and they did some work together, I believe, around Fringe, and now this is a scripted production that they're doing at a house, in the backyard of a house somewhere. I think it's in North Glen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in North Glen.
Okay. Cool. I also mentioned we had a couple of music reviews up there, Mount Joy. Also Jesse Wells. It's really cool. I hadn't been up to the Dillon Amphitheater since they've done a lot of upgrades on it over the last decade or so. It's really cool facility. And of course, it's right on Lake Dillon there, or Dillon Reservoir, if you want to be really accurate. So it's a really, really neat location. And it's kind of like a mini Red Rocks. It's like 3,000 seats tops. There's a lawn section, so there's not really any bad seats. And boy, if you can get up there and see a show, I highly recommend it. And Jesse Wells was just a really great artist to see there. Offstage, other concerts, films, things that we saw, looking to see. I don't know. I'm going to see Courtney Barnett, the Australian indie rocker, on Friday. She'll be at Mission Ballroom coming up. Excited to see her. She was kind of on hiatus for a while. And then on Andy and I watched Monty Python, The Holy Grail, the original 1974 film, just to kind of refresh our memory. And boy, that really holds up. It's still so damn funny. I mean, we just really laughed through the whole thing, and really enjoyed seeing it start to finish. It's one of those things where you feel like you see it, but you really don't. Because it's just kind of embedded in the zeitgeist, I guess, in some ways. So. And then also Jen and I have been enjoying Ride or Die on Prime. This is the show with Hannah Worthingham from Ted Lasso and and Viola. I'm forgetting her last name, but yeah, she plays a hit. She's like a hit woman, and Viola is her best friend who didn't know she was doing this. It's very silly, but it's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something on Prime, that's a good one to check out.
I've heard good things about that, so that's okay. I'm glad to hear you and Jen are enjoying that.
Yes.
And then I wanted to talk just a little bit briefly about something, a kind of phenomenon going on at the box office for films, is we have just recently had the release of 2 filmed versions of musicals that I had a chance to check out in movie theaters. Those were filmed versions of Hadestown with the original Broadway cast, and then Six, the musical, with the original West End cast that was shot and filmed. And both did, to say nothing of how they captured the experience, which I thought both did very well. Hadestown more effectively than Six for a couple of reasons. But both were really strong capturings of their respective musicals. And they did really well at the box office. Hadestown got $10 million during its opening weekend, surpassing Hamilton to become the highest grossing opening weekend for any live stage capture, and it's still in theaters in places, and it's made over $20 million domestically to date. And Six just opened this past weekend as we're recording this, and it earned about $3 million in the box office, which not quite as big as Hadestown, but there does seem to be demand for this kind of thing at the box office, and all the theater freaks like me are showing up.
That's cool. Yeah, it's not easy to film well a live theater performance. So I'm sure it's a big effort to do it right, and it sounds pretty cool.
It costs a couple million usually to do it well if you actually want to capture. So you do need to see returns like this for the producers of it to actually be like, yeah, that is a viable thing. I guess the other thing that they're going to be probably the financiers are looking at is like, does this then affect the kind of live version of these shows? Because both Hadestown and Six are touring and on Broadway and in the West End at the moment, as well as have multiple other versions of this production running internationally. So do these filmed versions help or hurt? Because I was just listening to an interesting argument on a podcast from somebody who was talking about The Wicked in New York on Broadway right now. It's actually seeing its worst sales in years after the release of both parts for the film. So they were arguing that the filmed version seems to have hurt the live performance of Wicked.
People feeling like they've already seen it.
Perhaps. And so we have only time will tell if that trend continues to be true for Wicked and if there is any impact on the live versions of Hadestown and Six, respectively. But it does seem like there are more pro shots on the way. There are plays and musicals both who have announced that they have filmed or are in the process of putting together a team to film. So I think we are going to see more of these film versions of stage stuff at the box office, which I, for one, am very, very pro on.
All right, cool. And then, jealous about this show you saw at Red Rocks. What was this one?
Last night, I saw LCD Sound System at Red Rocks. I caught their Sunday show, August 16th, and oh my God, Alex, it was just a banger set. They had such a big band that just like took over the full width of the Red Rock stage with all their various instrumentations. It was a really elaborately produced show too. Tons of cool light stuff that were flickering off the rocks in that scenic location in Morrison. At one point there was a really cool massive disco ball that came down and just like filled all of Red Rocks with this disco glow. Great concert. I went with some of my friends and we just had a hell of a time.
Yeah, such a great band. Yeah, I had a hard time, imagine what they would be like live. That sounds like they were great.
Oh yeah, because I was a little bit nervous about that too, because I was like, a lot of this sounds a little bit artificial and like it could only be done in a production studio. There's a lot of technical effects and stuff that's done onto it, but they had all of their live, like they had synthesizers and all of the live mixing machines there, and they were doing all of that work in real time, and they had such incredible camera work that was really a part of the show too, and that like just fading from these different things to show you the production of the music in real time.
Oh, that's cool.
I just thought it was a really incredible experience, and I really wasn't expecting that. I didn't like when they brought out all these different instruments. I was turning to one of my friends who I was there with, and I was like, God, it's cool that they have all this stuff, but I really hope they end up using it all. It's not just for show. They don't just like hit one instrument one time and then walk away. But no, oh my God, they really did use it all and more. They kept bringing stuff out, and the band, the lead singer had different percussion instruments that he was playing off of. He had this really funny exchange with Pat, the drummer, throughout about who was going to take over his drum set and whatnot. And, oh, is this yours? This is mine. That's yours. Kind of exchange. It just very fun.
All right.
Well, that is it for this episode of the Onstage Colorado podcast. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on in theaters across the state, be sure that you are subscribed to our Onstage Colorado Weekly Blast, which is a newsletter that comes out every single Thursday, features all of our reporting, including our new reviews, our news stories, and then a bunch of calendar listings for the upcoming weekend so that you can get a jump start on that and plan out all of your theatrical outings.
That's right. All right. As always, thanks so much for listening. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca. And we'll see you at the show.
Hey, it's Alex here, founder, editor, and publisher of Onstage Colorado. Thanks so much for listening. As other publications have stepped away from covering Colorado theater, we've stepped up. In 2025 alone, we published over 165 reviews, making sure our vibrant theater community in Colorado gets the attention it deserves. But we can't do this without your support. If you value having a dedicated source for Colorado theater journalism, please consider making a donation at onstagecolorado.com. Every contribution helps us continue this work. And if you're not already subscribed, sign up for our free weekly Theater Blast newsletter. Every Thursday morning, we deliver the latest reviews, theater news, and upcoming show listings right to your inbox. You'll find the sign up at onstagecolorado.com. Thanks again for being part of the Onstage Colorado community. We'll see you at the theater.